So, Valve may be trying to give Nintendo a run for their money when it comes to shady company tactics. Recently, it has come out. Well, it came out technically early in January this year, but even more updates came out recently about Valve, the company that owns Steam and created Half-Life and some of the other derivative products of that. Um, has sent a cease and desist letter to a modding team that was creating what they called it was a mod called Classic Offensive that sought to recreate the original Counter-Strike within the current Counter-Strike Global Offensive. This got the green light from Steam, from Valve in 2017, where Valve was fully aware of what they were doing, greenlit it through Steam's old Steam Greenlight program, where you had to get approval for stuff. And the team has been working on it for 8 years. And as apparently that they were just getting ready to finally fully release it early this year, and Steam went ahead and took it off of Steam. They removed it. They were no longer allowing it to be posted there. They then, so the team that was making it then went and put it on ModDB. So what did Steam do? Did Steam say, okay, well, we're not going to host it on our thing, but we're still going to allow people to play it. This is something that we said they could do. No. What Steam went ahead and did, what Valve went ahead and did was send them a cease and desist letter. In March, March of this year, they sent them a cease and desist letter telling them that the Counter-Strike, the Classic Offensive mod was a derivative, was too derivative of their original IP, and effectively that it was breaking copyright or patent infringement, probably copyright, and that they would effectively, it was a warning that they would take legal action if they continued to produce it. This, to me, considering what is going on with Nintendo and my stance on Nintendo, is a very, very similar situation that I'm trying to figure out how I feel about it. I try to look for more specific information, but so far all there is a statement from the team that made Classic Offensive. Now, here's why this is different enough that I might, from the Nintendo situation, that I might be like, okay, I can see I can see Valve's point, but I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. But effectively, one of the theories, one of the rumors that is going around is that one of the reasons that Valve did this, that Valve initially took it down, was because the Classic Offensive team had been using leaked code that they weren't supposed to have, and that's how they were developing the game. That they were effectively, or developing the mod, that they were effectively taking code that was, in fact, original code that Valve owned, and reusing that to create their mod. In that case, that kind of hits on what I said would be okay when it came to a game mechanic patent, where with Nintendo I said, listen, if you're going to do a game mechanic patent, it should be because you are patenting a specific set of code. You are patenting code that is being specifically used to make this thing happen in-game. And I said that would be something that makes sense to me to be patentable, because that is actual work product. That is something that you have actually specifically created, not an idea. At the same time, as far as I understand, Classic Offensive is just a mod that they're not getting paid for. It's just a mod that they released, or wanted to release and tried to release, and were told, no, you can't release this. And from what the Classic Offensive team is saying, is they did not use any of that code. So one, if both sides are willing to drop the receipts, if Classic Offensive is willing to, here's the code, here's all the code that's being used, we did not use any of this leaked code, we just used the modding tools that are available with a lot of these products, and the code is already leaked for Classic Offensive, and even if they wanted to do it as like a sealed court case or something like that, where they, it's not publicly available, but they are willing to go to show like, hey, this is the exact same code. Like Valve goes and shows this is our code, this is the code that got leaked without our permission, and this is the code that they're using. It's the exact same. They are actually stealing our work product to make a thing. Then I would kind of be like, okay, I can get it. I can get where you're coming from here. But even then, it feels dirty to me. It feels dirty to me, one, because by all accounts, Valve had been fully okay with it all the way until it was just about getting ready to release. They let this company or this team do 8 years of work to release this product, and then, at the final mile, they were about ready to finish. They were about to cross the finish line. They said, no, you can't do this, which is incredibly shady and incredibly dirty because money and time, even if no actual money goes into this, time is money. They spent their time developing this thing that they could have been using to do something else, and then Valve went ahead and said, suck a dick. Also, this coming from Valve specifically, if it came from any other developer that was not really about modding, that didn't really support modding in their community, and they said, hey, you're releasing this mod that is just recreating one of our games, like, that we're not okay with that. We're not okay with that. Then I could understand it. But so much of Valve and Steam in general, and so much of like Valve's products, have been built on the back of modding communities. In fact, Counter-Strike started as a mod of Half-Life. The game Counter-Strike started as a mod of Half-Life, and then Valve saw the mod and was like, this is fucking great, and they acquired the IP. Valve, the initial Valve team, when Counter-Strike, the original Counter-Strike, was created, it was not owned by Valve. It was modders modding Half-Life to create their own thing. Valve liked it. They acquired the IP. Similar to how when Bethesda, who is on the other side of the house when it comes to this type of shit going on, when Bethesda had someone create a super amazing, like, full DLC, basically, mod for Skyrim, they didn't say, how dare you, we're going to shut you down, you're not going to be able to use this, we're going to send you a cease and desist, straight to jail. They hired the guy. They hired the guy that created the mod because they recognized, damn, you're good at what you do, and what you do is what we want to do. This is awesome. Now, when it comes down to it, again, if it was a mod, if they were creating a mod and releasing it that was basically recreating the game, and it was something that they had never supported and had been against in the past, I could kind of understand them going for it, because unlike the Nintendo drama that's going on right now that I've released several videos about, this is someone recreating an actual Valve IP and trying to release it. So this is them actually completely reusing Valve's IP. The shady thing about it is that they allowed them to do this work for 8 years. They knew about it. It wasn't hidden from them. It was on their store, and it passed their green light. It was on Steam. It was on Steam. And it passed their green light, which means they approved it. They knew about this. And then they waited until the last minute to get rid of it. And that is incredibly shady and removes a lot of the integrity. And then, once again, Valve is built on the back of the modding community, to the point where, hold on, I popped up, I wanted to do a little bit, look into this. I popped up this is actually their statement, hold on. I popped up a list of video games that are derived from mods, like standalone video games that are derived from mods, and this is probably not an all-encompassing list. There's probably a lot more. But if you look at a lot of them, Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2, Half-Life, Half-Life, Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2, Half-Life, Half-Life 2, Half-Life, Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2, Half-Life, Half-Life. So, like, 50% of this list, it seems like, that is the foundation of what Valve is, and they are suddenly last minute trying to screw over another company. Where this differentiates, in my mind, from we're like, I'm kind of like not sure how I feel about it when compared to like the Nintendo situation, because I'm 100% against Nintendo right now. Compared to the Nintendo situation, is Nintendo is using and abusing patent law to go after a company that did not take their IP. They're going after a company that did not take their IP, that created something unique and original that just has a passing resemblance in a way to something that Nintendo made, and they're trying to shut them down. Whereas in this case, it's a modding team that is directly trying to recreate Valve's IP, but they did it with their permission. They were doing it with Valve's tacit consent. Valve was okay with it. Valve showed that they were okay with it. They greenlit it. They were perfectly fine with it, and then they decided after years of development time went into it that they were no longer okay with it. Even if I decide to look at it from a standpoint of this is their IP, they have every right to do this. When it had here's kind of where I'm at right now. Here's what I'll get to. Here's the stance I'll take at the moment, and I'm going to think about it more and more. If the moment this had come out, the moment that they had decided they were doing this, Valve had come out and said, "We do not want you doing this. We do not want you recreating something from our IP and releasing it." I would have said, understand 100%. I get that is your IP. That is your right. Where they lost me and where they are being shady, evil company is because they waited. They allowed time to be put in, they allowed effort to be put in, and they allowed them to think that this was about to happen, and then they ripped it away. They wasted their time, they wasted their effort with something that they thought they were fully allowed to do. The way that will get me to side with Valve, potentially in this, is if they did, in fact, you straight up just use the code. If they just used the leaked code that they weren't supposed to be using, and they were effectively stealing Valve's work product exactly and recreating it, and it turns out they didn't put any of their own effort into it, or they just kind of put the effort to porting Valve's code, then I could be like, yeah, no, you're stealing actual work product. You're not using modding tools to recreate this game, similar to the way that Sky Oblivion was going to. You're just stealing work product, and in that case, I'll kind of side with Valve in this. But so far, the Classic Offensive team has said that they haven't done that. So again, drop the receipts, see if that's the case. But here's the statement real quick, just to see what they have said, because they kind of went for Valve's throat a little bit with this. Classic Offensive, after 8 years of development and despite being officially greenlit by Valve in 2017, we are devastated to announce the cancellation of Classic Offensive. This decision follows abrupt actions by Valve that prevents us from releasing or continuing development on the project. Following our greenlight approval 7 years ago, we were granted Steamworks access and continued development, navigating technical challenges and CSGO updates, all with the clear expectation of bringing Classic Offensive to the community via Steam. We submitted our build for review in October 2024, only to have the project unexpectedly rejected in January 2025, with a generic response stating it was not a good fit, disregarding our prior greenlight status. As we were prepared to update via ModDB instead, we received a cease and desist notification from Valve's socials just hours before launch. In follow-up communications, they clarified that releasing Classic Offensive would not be distributing derivative content based on their intellectual property, which is not permitted under the Steam subscriber agreement. Basically, you're copyright infringement. Valve's current stance appears to be that modding is now only allowed under very narrow conditions. Skins and maps published through Steam Workshop for a currently active Valve game, maps developed using Valve Hammer Edition distributed on the Steam Workshop for third parties, original non-commercial games created with Source SDK 2013 that do not use Valve's IP, mods based on Half-Life 2 or Team Fortress 2 using Source SDK within defined guidelines, projects that have received explicit licensing from Valve. Now, here's the thing that I will say, once again, what I'll say about that part of this is what they were doing was recreating a Valve game. What they were doing is recreating a Valve game, and Valve has every right, and any game developer has every right to say, no, you are not allowed to recreate my game and just release it. You're not allowed to do that. It is my game. It is 100% their right to do that. Again, where Valve is wrong here in my mind is the fact that they allowed them to work on it for so long, and it was approved for so long. If they had said no on the immediately, if they had said no immediately and told them you're not allowed to do this, then they would be 100% in their right. And if this team was whining, but we want to, I don't care. You don't get to just recreate someone's stuff without their permission in this instance. But that's not what happened, apparently. Again, I have not been able to see much of a statement from Valve about this, so right now it's kind of just a one-sided argument about what's happening. And even they use leaked code is rumors, and it could be rumors based on fact, or it could be 100% rumors based on Valve fanboys trying to justify their actions. I have no clue. Drop the receipts. It's the same thing when I talked about the pirate software, the guy that made the game that used his voice clips and said, well, we didn't do this and do this. I'm always about drop the receipts. If you want to prove that you didn't do anything wrong, drop the receipts. This interpretation effectively prohibits community-driven source mods or skins that have been integral to Valve's games for decades, including those for Counter-Strike, Left 4 Dead, Portal, and Day of Defeat that could only be distributed outside of Steam and its workshop, Game Banana, ModDB, etc. I don't know how I feel about that. Because again, if you are creating, and especially if you're releasing for money a game that basically just takes everything from another game and puts a new skin on it, then the original game has the right to tell you, no, you can't do that. If you're creating a game and like it's literally using all the same source code and stuff, and you're releasing it for money, then the original game has the right to tell you not to do that. But modding a game for free, I feel like that's kind of that goes to the almost similar to right to repair laws, where they had to pass right to repair laws because there was like companies like Apple and I think Volvo and BMW that basically hard lock, no, you can only have your stuff repaired through us because we're hard locking it, or your warranty is void, or this or that, or all these different things, or you have to buy these specific tools from us, or the specific charging cord from us, whatever, from us. And then the courts and the lawmakers eventually ruled, no, when you buy a product, it is yours to do whatever you want with, and you can't stop people from doing that. To me, modding comes down to that. You don't have to provide the tools to support the mod as the developer, but if people figure out how to mod something, you shouldn't be allowed to tell them, no, you can't. As long as using that mod requires you to buy the original product. If someone somehow released a mod that allowed you to not buy the original product but play the game, 100% you can take that down, because essentially that's just piracy. But if it's like, oh, we're gonna start sending cease and desist to mods that just change the skins or just do this, but they still have to buy the original game. No, that you own the product, and I know there's all that trickiness of when you buy a game online, do you own it or you just have a license to use it and they can revoke that license anytime you want. I think that should be illegal. I don't think that should be a thing. I think if you buy a product, even if it's an online product, you should have that product. They shouldn't be able to say, never mind anymore, and say, well, technically, according to the terms and agreement, blah, 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 that you agreed to when you bought this, you didn't own it. You just rented the right to use it, and we're taking that back. That's bullshit. So I have mixed feelings about that. They don't have to, but ultimately it comes down to they don't have to support mods, but being able to attack modders like legally is insane unless those modders are trying to sell it for a profit. If modders are selling it for a profit, then yes, I would say the company has the right to say, no, you can't do this. This position stands in stark contrast to Valve's own greenlight approval of classic offense. That's the big thing. Their historical tolerance and benefit from extensive modding communities. And that's right there, that's the thing of, like, should they not be allowed to do this because historically they've allowed moddings? Like, if they said, no, you're not allowed to do mods anymore, we're removing support from mods that make new games or whatever, and should the argument be, well, you used to allow this and you have to keep allowing it? No, because ultimately that's their decision. But under capitalism, it's a really bad thing to do. And under the concept of you want to appease your customers, it's a really bad thing to do, because if all of a sudden they say we're not going to support any of this, and that's a bad look to the customers, and people might stop supporting them. And now there's a few other places that you can buy games, like there's the Epic Game Store and stuff, and it's not as good. But if they start making decisions that is going to push people away from them, then these other game like online game buying services and stuff like Epic Game Store and some of the other ones might start getting weight again. Because when I was a kid, there was a lot of them. There was a lot of different places online that you can buy games from, buy game licenses from and stuff. And now there's a lot less of them because Steam. So should they be legally not allowed to say we don't support mods? No. Not in the sense of like if they said we're not going to release games that have modding functionality, no. If it's we're going to go after, they shouldn't legally be allowed to go after people for making mods, but that aren't making money. I already talked about that. But just to clarify, like why that might seem like contradictory to what I just said. But it's a really dumb look because again, yes, they've built themselves on mods. And the previous 3 decades of modding tradition that shaped many of their successful games. Exactly. Again, this list right here. Many careers, features, and game modes originate from Counter-Strike's community mods, yet modding keeps becoming incredibly restricted. This situation has implications far beyond our project, raising serious concern for the future of modding within Valve's ecosystem. Modders should reconsider how they see Valve, a company that benefits from the community creativity while being able to shut down years of work without warning. That is, again, the big thing. They approved it, and then they said no after years. They didn't say no at the beginning. They waited. Despite going through their defined process, which they can drastically change at any time. To provide full transparency, we have launched classic-offensive.net. The website contains a detailed timeline of events, frequently asked questions, credits for our contributors, and media showcasing the work poured in the project over the years. We are immensely grateful for the incredible support, enthusiasm, and patience shown by the community throughout Classic Offensive's development. Thank you for believing in our project. Here's classicoffensive.net. I think they're kind of towing a line here by using a lot of Steam background type shit, because now they are crossing a copyright line that might be getting them into more trouble. But here's the timeline of everything. If you wanted to go through it, it basically is all the issues they had, their dev logs, the approvals they got, etc., etc. I'll link this in the description. Along with the list of video games that are derived from mods, just because I think that's kind of interesting. But that's where that's at. I find this kind of funny, in a way, just because I had the thought, because conversely to this, Bethesda, many people have probably been aware, the majority of people that were fans of Bethesda have probably been aware that there's been the Skyblivion project for years now, like maybe over a decade. It might have started... Hold on. It started in 2012. It started a year after Skyrim came out. A developer modding team, whatever you want to call them, started working on recreating Oblivion in the Skyrim engine to bring Oblivion to what at the time were modern graphics and modern game mechanics and modern functionality. They had been working on that for forever. And as you probably know, Bethesda just came out with Oblivion Remastered. And did Bethesda come out with Oblivion Remastered and say, hey, Skyblivion team, knock it the shit off. We're not going to allow that because we just came out with a product that would be conflicting with, because why would people buy Oblivion Remastered if you release Skyblivion and they already own Skyrim, so they could just get Skyblivion for free? That's bullshit. No, fuck, they didn't do that. They did not do that. What did Bethesda do? Bethesda gave public support to the Skyblivion team. Hold on. I want to see if I can find the article. Bethesda gave public support to the Skyblivion team to the point of giving the entire Skyblivion team keys to get the game for Oblivion Remastered, and told them, we are going to support you. You are allowed to continue doing this. We fully support your endeavors. Keep at it. Good job. So, and to the point where on the Bethesda website, hold on. On the Bethesda website, they have an article that is monthly modder, Skyblivion. they actively show off the fact that there is a team of people that are recreating Oblivion in the Skyrim engine. They fully support this. So as much as people might want to talk shit about how Bethesda, releases glitchy games and this and that, and are they as creative as they used to be, or are they? At the very least, the Bethesda's 100% the good guys right now. I mean, don't quote me on that. There might be some sort of Bethesda controversy internally that I don't know about, and I might sound like a huge asshole by saying Bethesda are the good guys. But at least in this sense, Bethesda are the good guys and fully support their community and realizes that they live off of modding, and are being incredibly good about it, to the point where I had the thought of, like, this is like the alignment chart. The D&D alignment chart of game developers, because Bethesda right now is just neutral good, maybe chaotic good, because they're the good guys, and like, just do whatever you want. We don't care. Just have fun. Yeah, we released this, but we're also going to give you. And it's kind of a chaotic seeming move, because when I first heard that Bethesda gave this Sky Oblivion team keys, I thought that's kind of a dick move. That's a slap in the face. But then when I heard they gave them keys and said, because in my mind it was almost like they gave them keys almost as yeah, I know you've been working on this for 13 years, but here's a $50 game for free. But then when I heard them say that they gave them the keys and then they told them they were going to fully support them, no, they're just good. They're just the good guys. They're somewhere on the good side of the chart. Valve is either ending up on the true neutral side or on the evil side, and I can't decide that, because it's all going to come down to because they might be lawful neutral if it turns out that the reason they took it down was because the Classic Offensive was using leaked code. Then I'd say, okay, that's lawful neutral. They're lawful neutral because they're like, hey, we're cool with you doing this mod, but you broke the rules, and now there's punishment for it. If it turns out they're just being dicks for some reason, and all of a sudden decided they're not going to allow it because they don't want to allow it, and that never happened, then straight to evil, straight to like chaotic evil, because that's a fucked up move right there. That's straight chaotic evil, to be like, we're gonna let them do this for 8 years and then tell them they can't do it. And then Nintendo, I'm not sure whether or not they go chaotic evil or lawful evil, because that's just on that note of it's chaotic evil because they're misusing the legal system in order to enforce their will, or maybe lawful evil because they are using the legal system to enforce their will. I'm not sure, but that was just a final thought I had, and I kind of wanted to talk about this because the moment I saw this Valve thing happening, I was like, are they all becoming Nintendo now? Are all these companies becoming Nintendo now? Is Bethesda the only one that's being good guys about this shit? Like, what the hell? So, hey, if you want to hear more about the Nintendo stuff, I'm going to link the playlist over here. If you want to keep hearing me talk about random stuff that's going on, please leave a subscribe, leave a like, and leave a comment on what you think the proper alignment of different game studios is. I want to put together and I might do a video on it, D&D alignment chart for game development studios, and I think that would be interesting. Oh, and real quick before you go, I have a petition going on. It's doing really, really well right now. It's a change.org petition for stopping the abuse of misuse of patent law in video games. Basically, it's kind of a lot about the Nintendo situation, but basically just saying, hey, the game development studios shouldn't be able to patent game mechanics because it's hurting the game development thing. And I'll also link that. But yeah, bye.